Hi everyone, we are reviewing the Intex Cloud Q11 smartphone. Now this is really my friend's phone. Before this, she had an ordinary, nondescript, non-feature phone, but now felt the need for a smartphone to help her make payments, manage her accounts, and all the other things which are now necessary. Since this was going to be her very first smartphone, she asked me for help in choosing one. Now my friend didn't want to spend more than 4,000 rupees, so we hunted within this budget, and finally I decided on the Intex Cloud Q11 primarily because it has a 5.5-inch HD IPS display which is 1280 by 720 pixels in resolution. A good display, I feel, is always important because it's the one thing that you're looking at all of the time. As to the rest of the features, the phone's also VR enabled, which is cool. The camera specs look good. It's powered by a 1.3 GHz quad-core processor, 1 GB of RAM and 8 GB storage. Now I know the specs don't sound like much, but then my friend is not a power user. She really wants it to function as a phone for her calls, her messages, for WhatsApp, for the internet, to make her payments, view videos and YouTube, check her emails, and probably play some light games. We ordered it for 3,999 rupees on Amazon Prime, and it was delivered first thing the next morning. The box proudly displays the specs: a 5.5 HD display, a 1.3 GHz quad-core processor, 8 GB of storage with 1 GB of RAM. It has an 8 megapixel rear camera and a 5 megapixel front selfie camera. It runs on Android 6 Marshmallow and has a dual SIM. Along with other pre-installed apps, we have auto call record. You can expand memory via SD card up to 32 GB. It has a bunch of sensors like the G sensor, proximity sensor and gyro sensor. For connectivity, we get 3G, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and hotspot. And the battery is 2800 mAh. Now those appear to be pretty good specs for a device that we've paid just 3,999 rupees for. The box contents include the phone, of course, which is a gorgeous shade of blue. We get a back case for protection as well as a screen guard. Now this is a VR-enabled handset, and the box itself is a DIY VR kit. You have to follow the instructions and assemble this into cardboard VR glasses, and to that effect, we have a pair of eyeglasses and black rims that are included. We also get a pair of headphones. Then there's the user manual and of course the power adapter with what looks like a data cable. The Intex Cloud Q11 comes in two color variants, white and what we have here, a very attractive shade of blue. Now the entire phone is made of plastic except of course the glass front, and the blue is crowned by a silver rim which looks metallic but is actually plastic with a chrome finish. But it doesn't feel bad at all. It feels quite nice in the hand, although the back is a little smooth. So one would have to be a little careful that it doesn't slip out, particularly as this is a larger handset at 5.5 inches, and therefore you have to be careful that you grip it well. In the looks department, this phone could definitely hold its own even among some of the mid-range phones out there. On the right side of the phone, we have the volume rocker, and just below that is the power button. The left of the phone features a mute switch, which is very handy when you want to quickly silence an incoming call. At the bottom, we find the microphone, and at the top, we have the micro USB charging port, and next to it, we have the 3.5 mm headphone jack for your headphones. At the rear, towards the bottom, is a fairly large speaker grill, so I'm hoping that the audio is going to be good as well. Towards the top, in the middle, we find the 8 megapixel camera. And sitting next to it is a dual LED flash. Now this is a nice feature to have in a phone of just this budget. This is a nice design because it's slightly recessed. Therefore, unlike phones that have camera bumps, this one is going to sit a little better when you lay it on a flat surface and is probably going to be slightly better protected against unwanted scratches. Right, now let's take a look at the front. Okay, now don't tell me that you didn't get a bit of a shock at seeing that. Well, let me assure you that it did not come looking like this out of the box. It was in perfect condition. This is unfortunately the result of my friend being so excited about her new phone that she decided to play with it for a couple of days and did not put any protection like tempered glass or even the scratch guard. And then she accidentally dropped it. So here's the result. We have proof that this does not have Gorilla Glass on it. So my sincere advice to anyone who's just bought a new phone is first and foremost, please protect it. Put on a protective case, and of course you must protect your screen with tempered glass. And speaking about protection, let's come back for a second to that back cover. Now the interesting thing is that back cover fits the phone even if you put it upside down. And in fact, it was a perfect fit till you try to remove it, and in that case, you find that the back case of the phone also tends to come apart. So just align it correctly so that you have the back case sitting correctly on the phone, and you should be fine. Removing the back panel and taking a peek inside, we find the huge 2800 mAh battery that's occupying most of the space here. Now, the good thing about this battery is that it is removable, a great plus point. And just above it are the two micro SIM slots. To their right is the SD card slot. Well, anyway, I am actually going to do this entire review on the phone, cracked screen and all. So let's switch it on. And what do you know? It works. The front of the phone has a black bezel running all around. On the top above the display panel, we find the front-facing 5 megapixel selfie camera and a earpiece. And below the display panel at the bottom are the capacitive buttons. Center, of course, is home, and of course long press it and it will show you your open apps, and you can close them all in one shot by pressing the trash icon. And then of course we have the back key, which is on our right here, and the context on the left. Now the thing to note is that these are not backlit, so you're going to have a hard time seeing them in the dark. But I guess if you're using this phone, then you'll probably learn it up by heart. So that really shouldn't be too much of an issue. They're just 3 buttons and you know where they are anyway. So we're looking at the 5.5-inch screen, the HD 1280 by 720 pixel display, and it does look quite nice. The colors are rich and quite vivid. Viewing angles are good. And actually there are further customization options as far as the display is concerned, and I'm going to show you that right now. Intex let you tweak the display settings a bit, so let's check that out. Of course, you have your brightness, which at present is 50%. Pull it up all the way and there you are. That's the full brightness that the phone has right now. But if I go down into my settings and display, I have the option of selecting adaptive brightness, which it currently is on. If I want manual control, I'll just turn that off. And there you have it. The brightness has gone all the way down to 0. Bring adaptive brightness back on and it adjusts itself according to the light environment that I'm in. Mirror Vision gives us further control over the display. Now these are the modes. Quick mode has picture mode standard on as of now. That is a preset. So it has grayed out the other options that would normally be available, like basic color tuning, contrast, saturation, picture brightness, sharpness, temperature. All of that is grayed out as of now. However, if I go into the picture mode, I have another option, Vivid, which is again a preset mode. And this will probably make the colors pop a bit more. And of course, it won't allow me to do any further adjustments there. But if I go into the user mode, I see that everything is now available to me. So I can play around with the contrast. There's a slider that I can use to increase the contrast or to decrease it as I wish. Then, of course, saturation will give me fuller colors if I take it all the way up to the right, and the reverse when I bring it down. Picture brightness. Again, on the left I have a before and I have an after, so I can see the effect that it is going to have and then take a call on how I want it. And then advanced tuning options, I have sharpness, so I can increase the level of sharpness. And I'm not sure if it's visible to you right now, but I can definitely see that the image on the right does look sharper after I have raised the slider. Now, here you will see a difference. It'll get warmer when I move it to the left and cooler when I move it to the right. So I just pick what suits me and there you have it. Then dynamic contrast. This is just a toggle of either on or off. Keep it on There. So anyway, this is giving you an idea of the screen and what the display is like, and that you do have some level of control over it. And of course, if you don't like what you've done and you want to get back to the original settings, you just click Restore Default Settings and it will completely reset all your options back to the default, what the phone came with. Coming to screen visibility outdoors, we find in bright sunlight the screen is very reflective. However, the text is still legible and you can definitely get by and use it. So let's just check out the responsiveness of the screen. So I'm going to open my gallery app and I open this picture. And let us see. Yeah, that works fine. I can zoom in and zoom out. Now I'm left-handed, so I would probably use my left hand, and that works fine too. That's a very cute picture. This seems to be working fine, but I have to confess that from time to time, I do need to tap once, twice, thrice, 4 times even, before I can get any response from an icon. So the screen responsiveness is not the greatest, but it's not bad. It gets a little irritating when you do have to press an icon a few times, but well, I suppose in this price range, you can't really expect to have the best. You get what you pay for. So Intex loads in a whole bunch of apps that you may love or hate, and here they are. You have 2 galleries, there's the gallery there, and you have Cool Gallery there. And I really find some duplication in this, particularly when it comes to the browsers. I don't know why, but there are 4 browsers for you to choose from. Well, if you like a lot of options, then that should keep you happy. Intex also have their own app store. Some of the apps give you the option to uninstall, though a lot of the pre-installed apps don't, which is a real pity because they do take up quite a bit of storage, as you're going to see right now. So you can see out of the 8 GB of internal storage, I'm actually getting just about 4.18 GB to use. So that's nearly 4 GB that has gone in the apps and the OS that are on the phone. The Intex website mentions gestures as a feature of this phone, and sure enough, there's a gesture mode right there on the screen. So let's check it out. And this is what it offers us. If you double click, you wake up the phone. Draw M for music, C for camera, a small e for browser, a lowercase o for messaging, and a W for contacts. Now this is supposed to work from the locked screen. So let's check it out. So I'm locking the phone now. The phone is locked. Let us try C. And that's super. The cameras come on. Excellent. Let's lock it again. And let's try M. And there you are. Music. Of course, I don't have any songs on this right now, but if I did, wow, we would be listening to something groovy right now. Let's turn it off and small O. And there you are. Messages. Small E. And the browser. Great. And what's left? W. And there you are. These are the contacts. So that's a pretty cool feature. Right, so it doesn't work unless the phone is asleep. But that's how you would wake it up. Oh yeah, and then they said to double tap and it would wake up. So there you are. So that's pretty cool. The audio on the Intex Cloud Q11 is actually not that bad. I can actually hear those calls and messages that come in thanks to a decent ringtone volume. The alarm is guaranteed to wake me up. And listening to music, watching videos, playing games is also quite a nice experience thanks to the decent enough volume and clarity that the audio offers.
Satisfied if I play along, but the voice inside sings a different song. What is wrong with me? 'Cause I got that sunshine in my pocket.
so profit. Been so phenomenally. You won't like the way we rock it. So don't stop, lights and everything goes. Nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine. I can see but you when you dance. Creeping up on you, so just dance. And everything goes. Nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just
The phone comes with a built-in FM feature, and that works really nice once you plug in the headphones. Now, speaking of the headphones, the ones that come in the box, well, they look very nice, but that's about it. The sound is awful, they're very tinny, but then of course, what can you expect within this budget? At least Intex have provided a set of headphones, that's all I can say. I would definitely prefer to use a much better set. When I do plug in a better quality of headphones, that's when I can really appreciate the audio output through the audio jack, because it's very good. And listening to music with a decent set of headphones on is a very enjoyable experience.
Mic test, 1, 2, 3, testing. So we are checking out the quality of the microphone, and you are going to be the judge of how this sounds. I'm standing outdoors in the courtyard, so you should be able to hear the sound of traffic because there's a road just outside the gate, and perhaps also even the sound of some birds and crows. But most important, how does my voice sound? Is it clear, or is there too much of noise, too much of disturbance? What do you feel?
Okay, here's one feature that I was really happy that this phone has, and that is that it plays perfectly with my Google Chromecast. So that's really cool. So as you can see, I'm casting from the phone and it's playing great. I can forward, skip to the next track. I'm actually watching YouTube right now. And even if I receive an incoming call, the Chromecast doesn't stop. That continues. I can use the phone for other functions with no problem. So unfortunately, I couldn't find an option to cast the web page, cast Google Chrome to my Chromecast, and I couldn't find anything in the settings that would allow me to mirror this phone. But if you have a Chromecast compatible app, then you should be fine. The gaming experience has actually been not too bad on this. Of course, I've tried out Candy Crush, which is, well, nearly everybody's favorite, and it works absolutely fine. Although, of course, loading up does take time, but then Candy Crush does do that. And then I installed Real Racing 3. And now this game comes with some pretty nice HD graphics, but more importantly, it actually works pretty well. Now here you can see me playing this. Now, I'm actually quite terrible at it and keep crashing and going off-road and all kinds of things. So really the phone handles the game a lot better than I do. The Wi-Fi connectivity works fine. It works on the 2.4 gigahertz band. And Bluetooth is also okay when I was trying to transfer files from the phone to my laptop. Now the reason why I was transferring via Bluetooth was really because this phone doesn't have an OTG function, which is pretty sad. So although it does ship with data cable, well, when you connect that to the laptop, you find that the phone gives you all the options. It shows you all of the options. By default, it is set on charging, but somehow it would not allow me to switch to any of the other options. I could not switch to file transfer or to picture transfer or anything else. This is the 3G variant of the Cloud Q11, and we get tethering options and can even make it a mobile hotspot, and all of that works fine. We would have loved 4G, but then that model launched 6 weeks after we bought this one, and it was priced at $2,000 more. All in all, the 3G experience has been pretty good, Internet connectivity works very smooth, so no complaints there. And now coming to its primary connectivity function, that of a phone to make and receive calls and messages, we have no complaints. Call clarity has been found to be pretty good.
Hello.
Hi, Judy. Hi. So how's the quality of the call?
Very good. Yeah, very clear.
You can hear me nice and clear.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes find that there is any disturbance in the calls, or does it come clear right through?
During the conversation.
Does the call drop, or
the voice is cut off.
Okay.
Maybe because of signal or what, I don't know.
because of the signal? Okay.
And then
But
nothing, no muffled sounds, no nothing.
you can hear me nice and clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Judy.
Welcome. Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
It's great that Intex have included the VR feature, and we have tried that out, though not with the cardboard DIY kit. We've just been too lazy to assemble that. But we did try it with the glasses that came with the Lenovo Note 3, and it's actually worked quite nice. I also tried to run some 4K 3D VR movies on this, but of course the phone could not handle that. But anyway, the 720 ones work absolutely good, so that's a nice thing. The 2800 mAh battery offers fairly decent life. It of course depends on your usage. For my friend who uses his phone occasionally for calls and messages and to play her favorite Candy Crush game, it lasts a day and a half and sometimes even 2 days, which is pretty good. For me, however, if I use it for more intensive activities, I find that the battery does tend to go down. For instance, have a look at this graph. As you can see, around 7 a.m., it's fully charged and it goes fairly steady right through the day. However, between 4 and 5 p.m. we see a sudden drop. And the reason is that at that time I had started to shoot video and take photographs. And as you can see, the battery really went down during that time. So it would really be very subjective and depend on the kind of usage that you put this phone to. To charge it, I would recommend that you plug it in at night so that you're good to go in the morning. Now here's something interesting. When the battery had dropped to 4%, I suddenly realized I needed to do a screen recording. So I actually started to do the screen recording and recorded about 4 minutes and then transferred that via Bluetooth to my laptop. And at the end of the transfer, the phone battery had dropped to 3%. So that's really not too bad at all. At such a low battery level, most phones would just die. But this phone allowed me to complete the whole process. We visited the Intex service center in Bangalore to see if we could get the cracked screen replaced. While waiting for our turn, we noticed that other customers who were being served seemed pretty annoyed that their handsets were still not ready. They had been waiting for their handsets for quite a while. Some for 2 weeks, and although they had been asked to come and collect, it was just not ready, and the Intex people seemed to be saying that the parts were not available. When it was our turn, the lady at the counter informed us that Intex actually covered damage to the screen for certain handsets. So we waited with fingers crossed, but then unfortunately the Cloud Q11 was not one of those. And we were given an estimate of 1,800 rupees for the replacement, which was basically half the cost of the phone itself. Also currently unavailable, and we were told that we would need to wait at least a week for the same. Now, judging by the experience of the other customers that we had seen, we decided we'd think about it and walked out with the phone. And as we did so, a person who had overheard our conversation at the counter came up to us and actually made an offer of 2,000 rupees for the phone as it was, cracked screen and all. So again, we said we'd think about it, and on the way home, we did stop at a few other private service centers, but then we were given an even higher quote, and this was because the screen was not available in the market at all because of it being such a new phone. So we decided to come home with it, and eventually I got tempered glass fixed over the cracked screen, and that seems to be working absolutely fine. So I don't see why we can't go on with this till the glass becomes cheaper and available. opening the camera app, we find that we have a normal mode on the top left and then the panoramic mode at the bottom right. And then there's even a face beauty mode in the middle there, which is great for portraits. For selfies, the 2-finger gesture makes it very convenient to quickly shoot a picture without having to physically touch the shutter button. Now here's what's great. There's an HDR mode. And then of course we can also have control over the flash. We can turn the flash on, off, or keep it on auto. And then swivel the camera around to the front-facing camera or again to the rear-facing camera as we wish. We can quickly jump to photographs that we have just shot and have a look at those. And now here's what's interesting. There is a settings mode which gives us a rich variety of additional controls. Through this, we can turn the GPS location on or off, adjust our exposure, select the color effect we wish, choose the scene mode, adjust the white balance, select our image properties and anti-flicker mode. And as you can see, there's a rich variety in all of these. So we have a lot of options there. And if we don't like what we have selected, then you can just go back to the default. Under the photo tab, we can choose zero shutter delay and even use a voice command to capture the shot. This worked beautifully the first time we said capture and it actually took the shot. But after that, it was disappointing because it did not recognize either capture nor cheese. It did not respond. Face detection can be set to automatic and we can have the camera automatically take the shot when it sees a smile. We can choose auto scene detection and even select the self timer. The camera can be set to capture multiple shots in quick succession and this can be anywhere between 5 shots to 30 shots. We can choose the megapixels that we want the picture size to be and also the preview size 4:3 or full screen mode. The ISO mode goes all the way up to 1600, though of course at that range it will probably be a little noisy and grainy. We can choose to have a timestamp put onto the photos and then of course we can choose to have the shutter sound on or off. Under the video mode, we find EIS or Electronic Image Stabilization. Now this is a feature that I'm not really very much in favor of. It doesn't make that much of a difference. And as you can see, you really still have to keep your hand very, very steady when you're shooting video and moving at the same time. Then under the settings, you can turn the microphone on or off, select your audio mode and your video quality. Now the time-lapse interval feature is very, very interesting. You can set it anywhere between 1 to 10 seconds and the results are actually quite nice. So take a look. So a cool time-lapse feature, but sadly no slow motion as is highlighted on the Amazon page describing the Cloud Q11. The Intex Cloud Q11 comes with a pretty great variety of features within this price range. What we liked about it was the 5.5-inch display, which looks really very decent. The audio is pretty good. It comes with Marshmallow 6.0 out of the box, which is great. It has a good mic. It's a decent phone for your everyday time pass gaming. It includes VR. Now, this is a feature which you find in higher priced phones, and it's great that it's included. But of course, for my friend and me, it's more of a gimmick and not something that we would use on an everyday basis. However, the gestures feature which is included is pretty cool. What we didn't like about this phone is that there is definitely a certain amount of lag when you're using it. The touch responsiveness is not 100% and sometimes misfires. There is no OTG, which means it makes the transfer of files a little bit more difficult, though you do have Bluetooth to make up for it. And the earphones that are included in the box are not the greatest, but then asking for something better would probably mean that they would have to price this phone more. So we have to be satisfied with that, I guess. Intex have added their own skin and theme to the phone, and we didn't really care for that very much. There's a lefty entertainment screen which you get when you swipe to the right, which wasn't really something that we found very useful. And the style of the icons, well, that's not really my cup of tea, but then style is again very subjective. You may love it, or you may hate it, or you may live with it. We preferred to bypass the built-in Launcher 3 and go with the Google Now Launcher, which has a cleaner, simpler look. I also disliked that there was so much of bloatware installed on this, and a lot of apps that could not be uninstalled. Here's something that would have been a real deal breaker had I seen it before we placed the order for this phone. A gentleman's accessory? Come on, Intex. How can you make a phone and the advertising for it so gender biased? Guys, would you buy a phone if it said a lady's accessory? I would love to hear your comments on it. My friend is really happy with this phone. It more than meets her needs. It's not the greatest phone that there is out there, but for the price that it's at, look at the features that it offers. For my friend, they are more than sufficient. The camera, although it's an average camera, is decent enough for her to take her photographs and videos and share them on social media, and that's all one really does these days with a phone. It's good enough for her to play her favorite games. She loves the FM feature where she can listen to music, and she can get to watch her movies, browse the internet, and of course use it for her messaging and calls. For me, I'm more of a power user, so this phone sometimes does get a little bit irritating for me because I have more expectations. But if you just take it at what it is, within the price range, what you get is a pretty good deal. That's it from us. I'd like to state that in no way have either of us been approached by Intex. This review is out of our own personal experience of using the Intex Cloud Q11 smartphone, and I do hope that you have found it useful. If you have, do like this video and please do subscribe to the channel. I hope to come out with some more reviews as and when I have the time and I have access to more devices. So in the meanwhile, all the best to you and good luck.